Hi, Mark. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you.
Beautiful. And you see, there's this anthem of mine, and I use the word anthem because, I say those words to all of my guests all the time. So, firstly, Mark, I want to thank you for two things. Firstly, I want to thank you for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, Mark, some months back, okay, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use that word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves look all dry, and I just walked past it. But you see, Mark, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around a lot's changed. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And instantly I got the urge to, move closer and have a good look. Oh, Mac, when I got close to the mango tree, it wowed me because this time around it's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. It was a beautiful moment that day. My point is the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing person you are today. That alone has made it really impossible for me to say nope to you. And you see, myself and the audience are really excited to have you on the show because we are about to benefit from the fruit of your knowledge. So thank you so very much for investing in yourself. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today, Mark, for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Mark, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. Not just knowledge, but the application of it. And you see, Mark, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorant, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the audience. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Mark on the show is for the sake of the audience, Mark. You see, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality information. And you see, Mark, I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal journey or your professional journey. We're just so curious right now. We want to know how Mark got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Mark, over to you.
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful greeting. I deeply appreciate it. And it is easy to think that we are all just normal people. I think of myself as just an average person, but we all have a message. We all have something within us to share, and that's what I want to do. And I appreciate very much that you recognize that we all have that message, that I have a message that is important to share, and that's what I want to do. I come from a counseling background. I have a master's degree in mental health counseling. I also come from a spiritual background, a background of theology. But my journey is also a personal one. I wrote a book called Learning Love. And that's been my journey of learning what love is and how to apply it to our lives to build the lives that we want and need and deserve. And I didn't always know what I know now. When I was in my early adulthood, I ended up in a toxic first marriage. It was a terrible situation. It ended in divorce. It left a lot of emotional scars, and it led me to ask very difficult questions like, is love even real? Is it possible to really have healthy relationships? Is it possible to build the kind of love that we want? And so over the years, from the perspective of a counselor, from the perspective of a theologian, and from a personal viewpoint of someone who has been hurt along the way, I came to this understanding that love is indeed real. And not only is it real, it is the answer to the questions of life. It is how we build that healthy life, even as we come out of hurt, even as we come through the difficult situations in life from maybe dysfunctional families or abusive situations or a toxic marriage like I had. When we understand what love is and we understand how to live the principles and the components of love in our life, we can build that kind of life that we want. That love really is the answer. And that's what my book is about, of not just the idea of love, but the principles, the components that we can put in place to actually build a life of love in every area, whether it's family, friendships, connections with our coworkers, loving life, loving what we do for a living, loving God, loving every area of life. Those are all different relationships, but they're built on the same components that I teach.
Amazing. Very interesting. You see, it was as though you shouldn't stop talking because, yeah, I tell you, anything that has to do with love, oh man, it's a very critical and important topic. And I love that part where you said, you know, I'm trying to paraphrase now, to function in life properly and be good, it all banks on love. And I feel like that's a very important one because if I love my neighbor, I wouldn't ever try to cheat my neighbor, hurt my neighbor, or tell lies to my neighbor, or even want to, steal from my neighbor, or all of those things that we have in the world today. So that's a great one, Mark, and I'm grateful to God for you. Okay, so I'm going to pick the first question from your book, all right? Now, I love the title, and it is really, really full of a lot of details. When you just come across the title, you already understand what the book is about. So, what then inspired the title? How did you come up with the title?
Yeah, the title is Learning Love, and it is about learning how to love, how to put it into practice. Love is a learned skill set. And so many people react to the idea of love as if it just comes naturally. Well, that's because we often learned some of the principles, maybe all the principles of love, before we remember learning them. If we came from a healthy, loving family, we learned them as a small child. We learned what love was from the example of our loving parents. And so we just assume it comes naturally. But love is actually learned, sort of like learning to walk. We have the natural capacity when we are born to walk, but we still have to learn to do it. Every human being has the capacity to love, but it is still a learned skill set. And the good news for people who have come from dysfunctional families or have been hurt in their relationships or have been through trauma and wonder if love is possible, that good news is that love is a learned skill set. We can learn love. It doesn't have to come from our family as a child. If we came from a difficult situation, we can still learn those principles of love, put them into place, and build healthy relationships throughout life. The subtitle of the book is Building a Life That Matters and Healthy Relationships That Last. That's a quote from one of my old counseling professors. That's what everyone's looking for. We're all looking for a life that matters and healthy relationships that last. And those are not two separate things. Those are two sides of the same road. If you have a life that matters, it's because you have built relationships in your personal life, in your professional life. We never accomplish anything truly alone. We're all in this together. And if we have those healthy relationships, then you have a life that matters. It matters that you're here when you have those healthy relationships around you. People care about who you are and what you do in your life. And so we can learn these skills, put them into place, and build that healthy, happy, thriving life that we want because we know how to love.
Because we know how to love. I got that. Okay, what about folks who say things like, okay, for instance, hey Mac, I heard you on the Witnesses podcast, and you say, my past marriages have been really, really toxic. Hearing you talk about love, okay, how then can I build the marriage that what would you respect?
If you have been through toxic relationships and you've been through hard times, one of the things that we need to understand about love is that the first component of love is grief. We often want to jump to the fun parts, the emotional connections of love, and we get to that. That's actually the second component of love. But we need to understand that if we're going to have loving relationships, we need to know how to grieve, because no one gets through this life without scars. We're all going to be hurt along the way in some measure, because it's a fallen world. It's a difficult world. And it is a world that has many, many blessings and wonderful things that we can talk about, but it also has a lot of pain along the way. And so one of the natural reactions when we get hurt is to put up emotional walls, to keep people at arm's length, to barricade our heart so that we're not hurt again. And that makes sense logically, but it doesn't work. It just keeps people away. It keeps us from connecting with the relationships we actually want. And so we're going to have to grieve those past hurts, get to a place of healing. We'll still have the scars. Some things in life are so painful that it's like it leaves a hole in our heart. But what I want people to know is that you can live a really good life with a hole in your heart. You can go on, even if you have that hole in your heart, to a place that you can live a good life. Just like if someone lost their arm in an accident, life's never going to be the same. That arm's not going to grow back, but you can still go on with the skills, with new understanding, and with help. You can go on to live a great life even after you've lost that arm. The same is true of emotional pain. If you've been through emotional pain and hurt and abuse or toxic relationships, you need to heal. And it may never fully heal. You may always have a hole in your heart in some way, but you can live a great life with a hole in your heart. The other thing you need to understand is if you've had a series of toxic relationships, you may need to understand you're not loving yourself. That is crucial to having a life of love and loving other people, is to love yourself first. So many people are so desperate for validation that they get into any relationship that's there, that's available. And sadly, abusers can see that coming. There are predators in the world that will take advantage of vulnerable people. And so if you are desperately seeking validation, abusers will often draw you in, and then you're in this toxic mess. The first key to being in healthy relationships is to love yourself first, and to have the courage to get out of those toxic relationships, grieve that loss that you're experiencing, and make room in your life for healthy relationships by first loving yourself so that you can love other people. Brene Brown and other great writers have talked a lot about this. It's vastly important to love yourself first.
Because you cannot give what you don't. I,
Exactly.
I got that.
Exactly
Okay,
right.
let's talk about forgiveness, all right? So, how does forgiveness in relationship? Can you talk?
Absolutely. Forgiveness is crucial in relationships, but there's something important to understand about forgiveness. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean that we restore the relationship, that there are some relationships that need to end. So forgiveness is that choice we make to not seek revenge, either in real life or even in our imaginations. Sometimes we let people we let people off the hook in the sense that we don't try to hurt them physically. We don't try to go after them in real life, but we play the scenarios in our mind of how we would hurt them, of what we would say to them, of how we would attack them. And we play these scenarios of these imaginary fights, these imaginary acts of revenge that we would like to have against that person. That's very unhealthy. It takes a toll on us and drains us. Forgiveness is the choice that we will not seek revenge, even if the person deserves it, even if they deserve wrongdoing against them, even if they deserve revenge against them. We choose out of active forgiveness to not seek revenge against them in real life or in our imaginations. We let that go. We don't seek revenge. We grieve that we've been hurt by that person so we can have that healing. But that does not necessarily mean we restore the relationship. That's a separate choice. Maybe forgiveness can lead to reconciliation. It is possible, and that's good when that happens. But some relationships cannot continue. No one was put on this earth to be abused. That is not our purpose. We were never placed here to be abused. And so if we are in a relationship with an abuser, we are not meant to be in that relationship. And not only for ourselves, but also for them. Because the best thing that can happen to an abuser is to run out of people to abuse. If all the people in their life would say, no more, I'm not allowing you to abuse me anymore, that would be the best scenario for that abuser, because it's not healthy for them to be an abuser. And so the best thing we can do for ourselves and for them is to end that relationship if we are in it with an abuser. Maybe, though, that person is not an abuser, but they've made a mistake. Maybe those can be restored. But forgiveness is that act of not seeking revenge in person or in our imaginations. And then, secondly, choosing whether or not that relationship can be restored and making a wise decision in that case.
Hmm, that's a great one, Mac. I would have to listen to our conversation again. Okay, lastly,
Yeah,
let's talk about a component of love. Can you talk to us about some of the
absolutely. I've mentioned a couple already. The grief is a component of love. We have to learn how to grieve to overcome the hurts of life. Obviously, emotion is an important component of love. We need to be able to connect on an emotional level. That's easy for some people. It's more difficult for others that don't feel comfortable with emotion. And to them, I would say, just practice. Just try it a little at a time. Show people that you care about them. Let people know that you care if you care. And don't keep that a secret. And connect emotionally. Even if you have to do it slowly, a little at a time, that's okay. A third component is practicality. We've talked a little bit about that already. Making practical, wise decisions in a relationship. Some relationships have to end. That's a practical reality. Also, other things like if you're in a marriage, we need to talk about things like money decisions, parenting, doing household chores, making sure the home runs well. Those are all practical things that make our relationship, they make them work. Emotion brings us together, but it's practicality that keeps us together. When we make good decisions to live together well, we are making those practical decisions to live a good life together. We create healthy relationships. You may have heard someone say, I love them, but I can't live with them. Those are people that have an emotional connection, but they failed in the area of practicality. They haven't lived together well. We need to make good decisions, practical decisions to live together well. The fourth component I've mentioned, we need to love ourselves. We need to accept who we are in order to accept who others are. We need to love ourselves first and build our love for other people on the love that we are manifesting in ourselves. As you said, we can't give away what we don't have. Love is not a commodity like money. We can get money from a lot of places. We can get a second job. We can look for a pay increase at our current job. We can take out a loan from a bank, borrow money from a family or a family member or a friend. Love is not like that. We have to grow it within us. It is organic. And so it is crucial that we love ourselves first. And finally, that fifth component is passion. This is a passion for life. This is enjoying life. Don't forget to have fun. We know life is serious. That's why practicality is the third component. And we know life can be tragic. That's why grief is the first component. But let's also not forget to have fun when we can. Life is hard, but life can also be fun. It's full of a lot of good things. Enjoy your life and enjoy the people in your life, and you'll continue to connect with them on an emotional level because you're having fun together. If you can practice these 5 components, grief, emotional connection, living together in a practical way, loving and accepting yourself first so you can love and accept others, and learn to have fun along the way, have passion in your life. You practice these 5 components, you can build healthy relationships in every area. That's a very quick run through, but you can find a deep discussion of them in my book.
Beautiful. That was very insightful. Okay, and I'm going to take that as a final thought. So to bring this to an end, Mac, for folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about all that we've said, or even make a purchase of your book, how can that be?
Go to my website. It's markahicks.com. Make sure you get my middle initial in there, markahicks.com. And you can find my book. It's available for pre-order from Morgan James Publishing. Pre-orders are being taken now. You can go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon, wherever you like, to pre-order the book. And those links are on my website. I also have a free ebook on my website, The 5 Components of Love, that will give you a quick rundown of those 5 components as I've given today, give you a brief overview. I'm also available for speaking engagements, for workshops, and you can contact me on my website on my contact form. Or if you just want to say hi and let me know that you saw me on the show today, I would love to hear from the audience.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much, Mark. That's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for coming and thank you for educating us. You see, I really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.